An urban fantasy featuring the Fae and pirates. Yeah, sounds pretty cool. Hey there, book dragons, welcome back to my channel. Today I have a book review for you, but before we get to it, please make sure to like the video, subscribe to my channel, join my Discord if you want to chat more with me and my friends about books. And I think that about covers the general stuff. Let's get right to the review. The book I'm reviewing today is A Touch of Fate by Ligia De Wit. This is a self-published book that I was given in exchange for an honest review. So you will be getting my honest, unfiltered opinions, and I will be keeping it spoiler-free as much as possible. So you don't have to worry about spoilers, okay? It is an urban fantasy, and it's also a fairy tale. It is set in modern day, and it does have elements of the Fae realm. It has magic, it has pirates, not your typical pirates now, but it does have pirates. And so there's a lot of elements in it that I really enjoy. It does have romance as well, and you know me, I'm not really into romance at all, but I don't mind fantasy books with romantic elements in it. And so when the author was telling me about this, she said it's not so overwhelmingly romantic that there's no story or plot. So I'm like, okay, all right, yeah, I'll give it a shot, and I'm really glad I did. So let's talk about the basic plot, and again, spoiler free, so you don't have to worry about that. The story follows our main character, Rianne Kelly, who has a special gift of sight accorded her by having been touched by the Fae. So that means she has been given an element of Fae magic with the intent that she will use it for the purposes that the Fae intended her to use it for. And of course those purposes are not completely divulged to Rianne. So, you know, she's meant to kind of figure things out for herself, and maybe eventually they'll kind of clue her into why she's been given this special ability. Little did she know that her sly use of the magic to get a date would turn into her being marked by a pirate, and her life would change forever. She may even have to choose between several different life paths as a result. There are several characters in the story, but I'm only going to focus on the three main characters in the story for this review, and that would be Rianne Kelly, of course. She is the main protagonist. There's also Titus Doyle, the pirate, and we'll talk a little bit more about him as the review goes on. And then there's also Brecious, who is Rianne's familiar that has been given to watch over her by the Fae people. The primary magic in this story is, of course, Fae magic, specifically Rianne's ability to use the sight to see certain things before they happen, not necessarily exactly how they're going to play out. It is kind of shadowed a bit, but she does have the ability to see things before they happen, and she is able to use certain elements of Fae magic in defense of herself as well. And of course, Brecious is the Fae sprite who kind of trains her how to use the magic. He watches over her, and one thing you never want to do is call Brecious a pixie. and there are several times where that just becomes absolutely hilarious in the story. The story takes place in several different arenas, one of which is the Fae realm. Of course, we do spend some time with Rianne in the Fae realm, getting to know some of the Fae creatures that have taken her under their protection. We get to see different areas of this Fae realm and the beauties that are there and the wonders that no human has really ever been able to experience, with the exception of Rianne. There are mysterious Fae beings that she encounters over the course of the story as well. We also spend a brief amount of time in the real world, or in our reality anyway, and we spend a fair amount of time on the pirate ship as well. I won't go into details how it happens, but Rianne does end up getting taken on board the pirate ship. There's a major theme that runs through the story of not being too quick to assume that you know everything about a person, or that you know what a person's nature is like. And I really thought that played out well in the story. So now let's talk about the pros. One thing that was a huge pro to this story for me was the pirates. This story flips the pirate trope on its head. He's not so much an actual pirate as he is just playing the role of a pirate because it meets his needs as a mercenary. He is what is called a Berdaise, and I may be mispronouncing that as well, but he is a supernatural creature, and he is not able to be killed, or at least not very easily, and he has a dark energy within him that's kind of a symbiote of sorts, so it commands him to do certain things, and it feeds on pain and lust and death, and so every time he kills or something like that, he satiates this dark energy within him. And one of the tasks that Rianne has been asked to do is to find out if there is any spark of goodness in this pirate. And so the pirate is, of course, Titus Doyle. I really enjoyed getting to know him. He's actually probably my favorite character in the story. Not that I don't like Rianne, she's great, but I really like Titus the best. And there is a strong romantic chemistry to them, which I thought was handled very well. The romance was not over the top, so much so that it overshadowed the plot and things like that. But it is there, and I really enjoy watching their relationship unfold. So when I say there's pirates, it's not like Jack Sparrow or Captain Hook or anything like that. He's a completely different type of pirate, and I personally think that's a very good thing. Another thing that I thought was really good is there's only 2 POVs in the story. There are other characters, but the only 2 POVs in the story are Rianne and Titus. And so we flip back and forth between their POVs. For a couple of chapters we'll be following Rianne, and then we'll have a couple chapters with Titus, and back and forth like that. And I thought that was a really, really good way to write the story. The fact that there's not an overwhelming amount of POV characters made the story really easy to follow and get into. So I really thought that was done well. And then I really liked the comedy relief from Brecious. Even though he has his serious moments, and he's always looking out for Rianne and trying to protect her and sometimes scolding her, there are several moments where it's just laugh out loud funny with Brecious, and I thought that was great. So now let's talk about some of the cons. Even though there wasn't an overwhelming amount of romance, there was still a little bit too much for my taste. I enjoyed the relationship between Titus and Rianne, and there's obviously going to be more to come in future volumes of this series. And even though it wasn't heavy-handed, it was still just a little bit too much for me. You know, I thought the plot was good. It didn't overshadow the plot, but it is something to consider if you're not really into urban fantasy romance. This might be a little bit much for you, because the romance is a major plot point. And there were a few points in the story where Brecious and Rianne have training exercises. And when these moments happened, I was kind of lost. I wasn't sure what was going on necessarily. It wasn't really clear to me what exactly he was teaching her, or how he was teaching it, and what she was trying to learn to get better at. I didn't always think that was clear. So I think I would like to see that more fleshed out, have more training sequences. Maybe she was trying to avoid info dumps, which is good, but I think there's also a point where you can not give enough information about something. So I would like to have had more information about exactly how the magic works, what Rihanna's trying to accomplish, and it was apparent that she did make some progress with it. I just wasn't sure how to make sense of it necessarily. So I would like to have more information on how the magic works, so that was a con for me as well. So in terms of my overall rank for this book, I would rank it as shiny. It was a fun book full of romance and adventure, layered with magic. The plot is very simple and straightforward, and that's not a bad thing. I think that's very well done. And what I was really impressed with is English is not Ligia's native language. She's from Mexico City, and apparently, from what I read on some posts that I saw about the book, she was encouraged by a lot of people not to write in English and just to write in her native tongue and be satisfied with that. And she didn't take their advice, and I'm really, really glad she didn't. Her command of the English language is excellent. It's obvious she went to a lot of work to make sure that this came across well and flowed well in English, and I think she did a bang-up job. So for a debut novel, I would say this is a win. So if you like fantasy romance novels set in a modern day setting, and kind of straddles the line between YA and adult, I think that's a good place to kind of put this. It's something that would be appropriate for older teens as well as adults. So, if that's something that you like, I think you would really, really enjoy this book. I highly recommend that you give it a try. I will leave a link to the book in the description below so that you can check it out. And let me know in the comments your thoughts about what you've heard so far in my review today. Does it sound like this is a book that would work for you? I'm guessing that most of you watching the video have not read the book yet. It's fairly new. It just came out a couple of weeks ago. And so this is probably one of the first times that some of you are hearing about the book. So let me know what you think. Get in touch with me if you decide to read it, and let me know what your thoughts are on the book. Or you can come back and comment on this video as well. We can have a discussion about it on my Discord as well. So make sure you hit me up there. And I think that's it, guys. Make sure that you are reading more books. I'll talk with you soon.